Hannah's father was a braggart. He bragged all the time. He was the owner of the mill, and he was bragging about his mill and how his mill had the finest flour in all of the world. Well, one day he got into a bragging contest with the king. Well, the king was probably the only other guy in the land that was a better braggart than Hannah's father. And the king bragged about his son, William. The Prince William he said he is the handsomest prince in all the land. And he's the bravest prince in all the land. He was the only prince in the land. Well, the miller bragged about his daughter Hannah. She is the most fair and beautiful, the longest blonde hair, and she is the smartest young lady in the land. And, well, this went on for time and kept going, and finally the king got around and he says, well, I have the most golden treasure in all the land. And Hannah's father was running out of things to brag about, so he finally just threw up his hands and says, well, yes, I don't need all that gold, because my daughter Hannah can spin gold from straw. Oh, yes, she can spin gold from straw. Well, the king thought, well, that's wonderful. The king loved gold. It was his most precious possession, and he wanted all the gold in the land. So he invited Hannah and her father to dinner the next night. And they had a wonderful turkey dinner with all the fixings. And when it was over, the king had the guards lead Hannah's father secretly down to the dungeons in the castle, and he took Hannah on a tour of the castle. And they ended up in the tallest tower in the castle. And when Hannah entered, it was kind of odd. She thought there was some straw over there in the corner and a spinning wheel, like they would use to spin yarn. And she thought, why is all that straw in the corner? She had to go to an envoy to Doyle. And the king said, it came from, well, your father tells me that you can spin straw into gold. He said, what? I can't do that. Nobody can do that. But the king, explained that her father had assured her that she could spin straw into gold. And he explained that if she failed to spin all that straw into gold by the morning, her and her father would be taken out to the courtyard and executed. Oh no! And so the king locked her up in the tower and Hannah went to the window and she said, help! I'm being repressed! But no one could hear her. And so she thought she would sit down and try it. So she took some straw, maybe it was a magical spinning wheel, and she put it in. Whoosh, straw in, straw out. Straw in, straw out. Oh, I can't do it! Oh, I can't do it! Oh, I wish that somebody would come and help me! And just then, this little creature of a man appeared in the corner. Hey, I can help. I can spin straw to go for me a small sum. Really? Certainly, if you give me your necklace, I will do it. So she did. She made a deal with the little man, and sure enough, this little man with the crooked nose and a greenish complexion and the beady eyes sat at the spinning wheel, and he fed that straw in, and gold came out. And pretty soon it took the whole night that he spun all that straw into gold. And the next morning when the king came around, the little man disappeared, and the king was thrilled to death. Oh you will have to spin it into gold, or I'm going to cut your jaw head. Oh, well, again the little man appeared, and this time Hannah exchanged her ring with the little man. He spun all that straw into gold. She thought maybe the king would let me go, so the next night, but the next morning the king was even more thrilled. Oh, this is wonderful, gold, gold, gold. And he filled the room with straw. And there was barely room for Hannah and the spinning wheel. And he said, well, one more night, if you can do this, then you'll be free. And I was like, I got to do all this tonight. But the little elf showed up again that night, and they made a deal. But this time, Hannah had nothing to give. And the elf said, if you give me your firstborn, I will spin all that straw into gold. Well, Hannah had no intentions of getting married, no thoughts of raising a family at this point in her life. Sure, Uno. So the little man spun all that into gold. He spun all that straw. The whole room was full of gold. And the king came in the next morning, and he was like, oh, this is wonderful, and it was great. He was so excited that he had fallen in love with Hannah, and he asked Hannah to marry him. And she looked at him. Are you crazy? You threatened to kill me! Not to mention you're fat and old! Really? I would marry you if you were the last born on earth! Well, indeed she was right now. Never marry someone who threatens to kill you. Not a good idea. But the king wanted Hannah around the castle because, you know, having somebody around that can spin straw and gold is really handy. So he offered her anything she wanted. Well, now, Prince William's pretty cute. Oh, marry him. And indeed, they were married. And Prince William, luckily, was a wholly different man from his father. And he treated her very well. He lavished her with gifts. And he let her father go. And she was living really happily until, 3 years later, they had a baby boy. And Hannah had forgotten